The first week of the testimony in the sex trafficking trial against Sean Combs ended with a former member of one of Combs' musical groups on the witness stand.
What message do you have to Prince fans?
Just keep saying prayers for everyone, for the family.
Quite a few very powerful testimonies that are strengthening the case against him, I would say.
What if I told you that the last known recording of Prince is now at the center of one of the most shocking and emotional moments in a recent celebrity court drama?
Did you see the new evidence that they have introduced into the trial?
Yes, you heard that right. While Prince has long been gone from this world, his music, and now this recording, has unexpectedly become a key piece in a legal battle involving none other than Diddy. This isn't just any court case. It's a tangled web of secrets, emotions, and revelations that have left everyone stunned.
Well, apparently, Prince, oh yes, the purple one, documented and recorded a bunch of ish.
The story takes a dramatic turn when Prince's voice resurfaces, challenging everything we thought we knew. Now, if you don't know the backstory, Prince, the legendary musician known not just for his unparalleled artistry, but for his fierce independence and fight for control over his music, passed away in 2016. But before his untimely death, Prince was reportedly working on a number of private recordings, some of which were never intended for public release. These recordings were stored in his infamous vault, a place filled with unreleased music, video footage, and private messages.
It confirms everything Cassie was saying. Oops. Angry man was right again. Rest in peace to the purple one.
What no one expected was that one of these recordings, allegedly dated just weeks before his death, would surface years later. Not in a music documentary, not in a tribute album, but in a courtroom. And at the center of this courtroom storm, Sean Diddy Combs. The audio features Prince speaking candidly about the dark side of the music industry, naming names, exposing manipulation, and hinting at pressures he faced from major industry figures.
Became such a big deal back then is ever since my third album, I wasn't really taking large advances from the recording companies.
What's jaw-dropping is that Diddy's name is mentioned, alongside references that have ignited a firestorm online and in courtrooms alike. When this bombshell was played in court, sources say Diddy, visibly shaken, broke down. Not just from the shock of hearing Prince's unmistakable voice echo through the courtroom, but from the weight of the allegations implied. Whether it was guilt, grief, or the realization of what was now public, the moment reportedly left the entire courtroom in stunned silence. But here's where it gets even deeper. The public has long associated Diddy with hip-hop success and entrepreneurial empire building. Behind the scenes, a far more controversial story has been unfolding.
Diddy party I went to was at Prince's house. So you want to go to Prince's house to the Diddy party where Tyrese is performing and Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher are swinging on swings. That is what's happening on the other side of the wall.
According to court documents and explosive testimony, Diddy's name surfaced in relation to Prince's private recordings, not as a collaborator, but allegedly as a target of concern. The resurfaced recording features Prince speaking candidly about his fears surrounding the control and exploitation of artists in the industry. He warns of powerful figures who, in his words, use the art but not the artist. Then comes the moment that rocked the courtroom.
She said she has seen Diddy carrying guns around his waist. But then she was asked, did you ever see him brandish a gun? She said no. Did you ever see him shoot a gun? She said no. And again, the specter of all of this is racketeering.
Prince drops a name, Sean Combs, in a context that implies manipulation, coercion, or behind-the-scenes dealings many were unaware of. Exactly what Prince meant is still being debated. Some believe he was referencing a specific business encounter involving master recordings and intellectual property. Others say it was broader, a critique of how certain moguls rose to power while artists like Prince fought to maintain ownership and integrity.
You remember Vanity 6? Mm-hmm. That was the original sample. So we went to see Prince to ask him, could we use it? Puff gets his time with Prince, and Prince is like, hey, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? He's like, yo, I got this song, you know what I'm saying, with my artist Biggie. You know what I'm saying? He sampled one of his joints, and he's like...
But it gets even deeper. Insiders allege that this court case isn't just about legacy or music. It's about money, control, and possibly a suppressed legal battle over unreleased content that was meant to remain buried forever. Diddy's legal team has strongly denied any wrongdoing, but the emotional response he displayed when the recording was played spoke volumes. Those in the room described Diddy as visibly shaken, even tearful, as if hearing Prince's voice unearthed a truth too powerful to ignore.
I am a musician. I don't sample, It's not Memorex. I go on stage and my microphone is on.
As the courtroom doors opened on day 7 of what's quickly becoming one of the most explosive celebrity trials in recent memory, the tension was unmistakable. And at the center of it all stands Sean Diddy Combs, facing a growing list of allegations, each one more damning than the last.
It's like, no thank you, enjoy the show. Damn, I was like, damn, it's you with a smooth-ass tone and shit, man.
Court insiders report that testimony over the past week has painted a picture of Diddy as a powerful figure allegedly involved in shady backroom deals, intimidation tactics, and suppression of artist rights. While none of these accusations have yet resulted in criminal charges, the sheer volume and emotional impact of the claims are enough to shake his legacy to its core. The Prince recording played earlier in the week continues to hang over the proceedings like a specter.
Did you hear anything about who found him, how he was found, or the 911 call or anything like that?
We pretty much know what's going on, but, all we want to do is just talk about the man, the musician.
Prosecutors have begun to suggest that it may not be an isolated message, but part of a broader pattern of concern from artists who feared being silenced. The implication? That Diddy may have played a role in that silence, whether directly or through the vast machine he helped build. On day 7, new witnesses came forward, former industry insiders, assistants, and even one retired executive, alleging that Diddy's influence extended into legal threats, payoffs, and even attempts to block the release of recordings that might have cast certain figures in a negative light.
A Jamie Foxx party or any other celebrity party that wrangles a bunch of young women or guys or whatever too, is that Diddy didn't let you bring your security in the party.
Though Diddy has maintained his composure in court for much of the trial, observers noted that today, as more allegations came forward, his usual confidence appeared to waver. With cameras banned from the courtroom, only leaked sketches and insider descriptions show a man under immense pressure. As the trial barrels forward, drawing in legendary names and industry giants, one woman's voice has become impossible to ignore: Cassie Ventura. Once seen simply as a former protege and romantic partner of Diddy, Cassie has now emerged as a central figure in the case, not just as a witness, but as a survivor with a story the world is finally hearing.
David James, his personal assistant, testified. Right now, they are currently in the middle of the testimony of one of the escorts, but the big witness, in my opinion, this morning was Cassie Ventura's mother, Regina Ventura.
Cassie's allegations against Diddy, once buried in NDAs and industry silence, have now been brought into the open. Her explosive testimony earlier in the trial laid the foundation for the wave of accusations that followed. She spoke of emotional manipulation, control, use of power, and the suffocating dynamics she endured during her years with the mogul.
She talked about her concern as a mother after learning that Sean Combs had been physically abusive to Cassie in 2011. She talked about the photos that...
What shocked the court wasn't just what she said, but the detail and consistency in her account. Her words painted a dark picture of an artist caught in a gilded cage, used as a pawn in a much larger game of ego, power, and industry dominance. Sources say Cassie has remained composed and resolute throughout the proceedings.
She took of her. She also talked about the fact she had to take a $20,000 home equity loan out of her house when Sean Combs demanded the money back because Cassie Ventura had started dating her now husband, Alex Fine.
Those close to her say she's determined not just to seek justice for herself, but to empower other victims who may have felt voiceless under powerful men. What's more, there are whispers that Cassie's revelations may have directly triggered the release of Prince's recording, a kind of domino effect of truth. Insiders claim she mentioned knowledge of certain vaulted materials and industry conversations that led investigators to dig deeper into the late icon's archives.
So he was upset that he paid for the trainer and now Cassie was in a relationship with him. The big thing is she was not cross-examined by Combs's attorneys at all. She gave her testimony. It's about 20 minutes. She was on and off the stand.
What unfolded next was beyond what anyone expected. After Cassie's initial testimony shook the courtroom, what followed was a methodical release of damning evidence that painted a much broader and darker picture than anyone had anticipated.
Do not entertain none of this nonsense and nothing over the phone. I'm gonna need you to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes. The what? All the boxes left over from the pizza.
She didn't simply accuse, she documented. With her came phone logs, hidden audio recordings, surveillance footage, payment trails, and even confidential messages extracted from encrypted apps. These weren't allegations made from emotion. They were supported by years of kept receipts, many of which were reportedly hidden from even her closest friends until now. But Cassie didn't stop with her own story. Her courage cracked something open. Within days, a chain reaction began.
All the boxes. Okay. Make sure you recycle the plastic like we talked about. Yeah. Did Jay reach out yet? Nah, Pop. He ghosting. Yeah, watch.
More individuals came forward, some directly inspired by her, others who had been gathering the courage to speak but waited for the right moment. What started as a case involving one woman's trauma has now turned into a full-blown reckoning involving a growing list of people, many with eerily similar accounts of manipulation, coercion, and control within Diddy's inner circle. The most disturbing part isn't just the number of new claims, it's the pattern they reveal.
What this motherfucker doing? These things sweet
You heard him?
because I'm in here.
Jay-Z reach out.
You about to get out on bail. No. Hey, yo, check this out. Need you to reach out to the producer.
Several testimonies described situations where individuals were groomed, promised stardom or contracts, then placed in compromising, often exploitative situations. Many of these encounters, they claim, were filmed without consent. In at least 3 cases now under investigation, individuals allege they were drugged, then subjected to acts they had no memory of, until they were shown images later as leverage. Former employees, drivers, assistants, security staff, are now cooperating with investigators.
Let these motherfuckers know there's a release date for that new Netflix movie. Alright, Pop. It's fucking crazy right now.
One security contractor described in chilling detail the process of prepping homes for what he called closed-door nights, where guests surrendered their phones and signed NDAs before entering. According to him, what happened inside was ritualized, highly controlled, and often deeply disturbing. He admitted he stayed quiet for years out of fear, but couldn't anymore, not after seeing Cassie speak out. The court has also been handed financial documents that show regular, undocumented cash payments made to a list of names that appear nowhere else in Diddy's business records. Prosecutors believe these were hush payments, some in the form of tuition, rent, or luxury gifts, all arranged through third parties or shell companies. Cassie's lawyers contend this was part of a deliberate strategy to maintain silence and buy loyalty. These documents, along with corroborating testimonies from former accountants and assistants, are now being entered into evidence.
Cross-examination on the stand is over for Sean Diddy Combs' ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura, and it couldn't come soon enough considering she could give birth at any moment.
There's a growing sense that what's coming to light isn't about one man's moral failings. It's about a machinery designed to protect and sustain power through silence. The question on everyone's mind now is, how far does it go, and who else is involved? The ripple effect is already being felt across the entertainment industry. Executives who once proudly stood beside Diddy are now ducking media inquiries.
Cassie Ventura is the key witness, and she is in her 9th month of pregnancy. Prosecutors accused Sean P. Diddy Combs' lawyers of intentionally prolonging her time on the witness stand. And for what purpose? They claim it's to try to induce labor, and if that were to happen, it could cause a mistrial.
Some are quietly lawyering up. One music producer who worked on multiple bad boy projects allegedly left the country days before being subpoenaed. The public is watching as not only Diddy's legacy teeters, but also as the industry's long-standing culture of silence begins to crumble. Cassie's demeanor throughout all of this has remained shockingly composed. She's attended every court day, sometimes arriving with former colleagues who are now supporting her, sometimes alone.
Seen something like this in court, but seeing a woman who's 8.5 months pregnant, possibly could deliver a baby at any time, being under intense cross-examination with the most personal details of a person's life, on the verge of having a baby, it's pretty remarkable.
She's given no media interviews, no public statements, letting the evidence speak for itself. Insiders say she's declined multiple offers for sit-down specials and exclusives, choosing instead to let the legal process run its course. This isn't a media campaign, it's a reckoning. The prosecutors leading the case have made clear that the scope is widening.
I hope that my testimony has given strength and a voice to other survivors and can help others who have suffered to speak up and also heal from abuse and fear. For me, the more I heal, the more I can remember.
Federal investigators have now requested access to certain sealed documents, and there's strong indication that what began as a civil trial could evolve into a criminal investigation, especially if more victims come forward and evidence of trafficking or interstate financial crimes is confirmed. Diddy's legal team, once confident and almost dismissive, has now taken a defensive posture. There are whispers that settlement talks have quietly begun behind closed doors, though Cassie's team is reportedly resisting anything that resembles a gag order.
And the more I can remember, the more I will never forget.
Anybody who ever thought pregnant women are weak or fragile, that should now be put to rest. We've seen a woman do almost the unimaginable, answering question after question. She's been remarkably calm.
As the trial digs deeper, it's clear that Diddy isn't the only name surfacing. More artists and insiders from his circle have been called to testify or are being implicated through evidence. One of the most talked about figures is Kid Cudi, who recently took the stand. His testimony didn't just offer personal anecdotes, it hinted at the darker undercurrents within Diddy's world. Cudi spoke about an incident where his car mysteriously exploded, which many speculate was an intimidation tactic linked to his connection with Cassie. His candidness has stirred up conversations about just how far the circle of control and fear might extend. Another artist who has been dragged into the legal fray is Dawn Richard, formerly of the girl group Danity Kane. She has come forward with serious allegations of abuse and manipulation during her time working with Diddy. Her testimony added weight to the narrative that the behavior Cassie described was not isolated, but part of a broader pattern affecting several women in the industry. Dawn's revelations paint a troubling picture of how power was wielded to silence and control artists under the guise of mentorship and opportunity. It's not just artists who are being called to account. Several former employees of Diddy's enterprises have appeared in court, describing a toxic atmosphere rife with control, intimidation, and secrecy. They spoke of strict rules, surveillance, and a culture where complaining meant risking one's career or even safety. These testimonies suggest a system built to protect the powerful at all costs, with layers of people complicit in maintaining the status quo. This growing list of names and voices reveals how deeply entrenched the issue is. It's not merely a single man's misconduct, but an entire ecosystem that enabled and concealed it. Lawyers and investigators are now looking into whether other high-profile figures might have known about or indirectly supported these practices, even if they were not directly involved. As more witnesses prepare to step forward, the court is bracing for the possibility that this trial could open floodgates, exposing a network of complicity stretching across the entertainment industry. There's a growing consensus among legal experts that the case may not only reshape how accountability is enforced, but also force industry leaders to reconsider long-standing power dynamics. As the courtroom drama intensifies, the spotlight is not only on the testimonies and revelations, but also on the high-stakes legal chess match unfolding behind the scenes. Diddy's legal team, once confident and composed, is now visibly shifting strategies as the tide of evidence grows increasingly unfavorable. From the outset, the defense adopted a dual approach, aggressively challenging the credibility of the accusers while portraying Diddy as a misunderstood figure caught in a web of rumors and exaggerations. Early motions sought to dismiss key pieces of evidence, arguing that many of the materials, texts, recordings, and videos, were taken out of context or obtained unlawfully. However, as more witnesses corroborated Cassie's account and new documents surfaced, the defense had to recalibrate. One of their central tactics has been to question Cassie's motives and timing. They have suggested that her decision to come forward now is financially driven or fueled by personal grievances stemming from their past relationship. Legal experts note this is a common approach in high-profile cases, designed to sow doubt in the minds of jurors or observers by portraying the accuser as unreliable. Yet, Cassie's steady presentation and the volume of tangible evidence have blunted this strategy's impact. To counter the mounting proof, Diddy's attorneys have called on several character witnesses, industry figures and longtime friends, who testified to his generosity, professionalism, and mentorship. These witnesses aim to humanize Diddy and paint a portrait of a man whose reputation has been unfairly tarnished by accusations they characterize as isolated and unsubstantiated. Simultaneously, the defense is employing a strategy of fragmentation, attempting to isolate each allegation as a standalone incident unrelated to any broader pattern of behavior. By dissecting testimonies and challenging inconsistencies, they hope to undermine the narrative of a systemic culture of abuse. However, this approach faces significant hurdles. Prosecutors have carefully connected the dots through timelines, financial records, and overlapping witness statements, making it difficult to dismiss the claims as isolated or coincidental. Furthermore, new revelations about a network of hush payments and NDAs suggest deliberate efforts to cover up wrongdoing, complicating the defense's argument that these are just rumors. In recent court sessions, the defense has also tried to shift some blame onto Cassie's own associates and the media, alleging that selective leaks and public pressure have influenced the case's direction. While this tactic is often used to deflect scrutiny, it risks alienating the court and public by appearing to attack survivors rather than addressing the core issues. Another critical development is the defense's attempt to negotiate a settlement out of court. Sources close to the case reveal ongoing behind-the-scenes discussions, but these talks have reportedly hit a stalemate. Cassie's legal team remains firm on transparency and justice, rejecting offers that come with non-disclosure agreements or conditions that might silence future claims. As the trial moves forward, the courtroom has become a battleground not just of facts, but of narratives, between denial and accountability, silence and revelation. Both sides are playing a high-stakes game, aware that the trial's outcome will have ramifications far beyond the legal realm, potentially reshaping reputations, careers, and the very culture of the entertainment industry. As the trial enters its next critical phases, the courtroom is preparing for a series of pivotal moments that could redefine the direction and intensity of the case. What began as a civil lawsuit has now taken on the gravity of a broader legal investigation, and the coming weeks are expected to deliver the most consequential developments yet. The court is scheduled to hear from several new witnesses, some of whom have remained anonymous until now under protective orders. These individuals are reportedly former employees, associates, and at least one alleged victim who has not yet made a public statement. Their testimonies are expected to strengthen the prosecution's case by confirming patterns of behavior, including coercion, non-consensual acts, and the use of threats or payments to secure silence. Also upcoming is the formal review of digital evidence, including encrypted messages, emails, and surveillance footage from properties owned or frequented by Diddy. Experts in digital forensics will take the stand to explain the significance of these materials, some of which are believed to support allegations of premeditated manipulation and abuse, Meanwhile, prosecutors are seeking to expand the scope of the case by requesting federal oversight. If granted, this would allow federal agencies to step in, potentially turning the trial into a criminal proceeding with far more serious implications for Diddy and anyone else found complicit. The court will rule on a pending motion regarding the unsealing of key documents that could name other industry figures. If approved, this could send shockwaves through the entertainment world.